this is the blanket that I'll be making today. It's a really simple pattern. I'll open it up a little bit more here so you can see more about what it looks like. So within the blanket part itself here, there's only double crochets and only one repeating row. Now the border has a few more steps. It has 11 rows to it, but they're all really easy rows. The only stitches that are used are double crochets, half double crochets, and single crochets. The blanket is 35 inches by 38 inches. All right, now I'll show you the materials that I used to make this blanket. Here are the materials that I used to make this blanket. I'll start off by talking about the yarn that I used. I used Stylecraft Special double knit yarn. It's 100 grams, the color white, and it recommends a 4mm crochet hook. It's 100% premium acrylic and 322 yards. I used 5 balls of this yarn. It recommended a 4mm crochet hook, and that's the crochet hook that I used, was 4 millimeters. And then I also used 4 stitch markers. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, go ahead and make your slip knot. And then we're going to chain 135 chains. I'll show you how to do the first 10 and then you can make the remaining on your own. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how it looks. So keep going until you have 135 and I'll see you right back here. So I have my 135 chains and now do 2 more. So there's 137 and those last 2 that we just did will equal a double crochet. So that 135th chain that we did was the bottom of a double crochet, and those last 2 chains that we did complete that double crochet. So now we have 1 double crochet to start this row, row number 1, and now in the 4th chain, do 1 more double crochet. So now we'll have 2 double crochets in a row. And then skip 2 chains, and then in the next chain do 5 double crochets. And this is how the first shell looks. And now skip 2 chains, and then in the next chain do a double crochet, and then in the chain after do another double crochet, so 2 double crochets in a row, just like how we started. And then skip 2 chains, and the next chain do 5 double crochets. And then again, skip 2 chains, and then in the next chain, do a double crochet. And then in the chain after, do a double crochet. So this is how it looks. And this is how this whole row and also how the whole inside of this blanket will go, where it's 2 double crochets, skip 2 chains, and then in the next chain do 5 double crochets in a row to make that shell, skip 2 chains, do 2 double crochets in a row, skip 2 chains, and then do 5 double crochets in that chain to make a shell, skip 2 double crochets in a row, skip 2, and then do 5 double crochets in a row. So continue to follow this pattern for this row, and I will show you how to turn the corner and how to start this same pattern again for the next row. So I just finished my last shell for the first row, and I have 4 chains left. And I'm just going to continue on with the pattern like we have been doing, where we skip 2, and then in these last 2 chains do 1 double crochet into each of them. And now that's it for the first row, and I just want to show you that the end of the row matches the beginning of the row here, with starting with 2 double crochets and a shell, and then ending with a shell and 2 double crochets. So you've actually seen the whole pattern, like I had mentioned before, that this will be what the whole inside of the blanket is, but I'll show you how to start the next row. So chain 3, and this is what you'll do for all future rows when you finish a row and start the next one. So chain 3, and that counts as 1 double crochet, and now you just continue to follow on with the pattern. So in the next double crochet, do a double crochet. And then for the shell, you skip 2 of the double crochets, and then the third double crochet, the one that's right there in the middle, do 5 double crochets in it. And then in these next 2 double crochets, do 1 double crochet into each of them. And then you skip 2 again in the shell, and then in the third double crochet in the shell, do 5 double crochets. So it's making a shell on top of the shell. And then again, just going straight to the double crochets here. We're skipping 2 with the shell, and then do 1 double crochet on top of each of the double crochets. And this is how it looks. So continue to do this pattern for 56 rows. So how the rows are counting is this was row number 1 and this is row number 2. So anytime you finish a row and then you start the next one, that'll be the next count. So do 56 of these rows, and I will show you how to do the border. So I'm just finishing up my 56 rows, and I have 1 double crochet left to do in this very last double crochet. Now to move on to the border, chain 3. And then turn your blanket over to the other side. And then this is the side of the blanket now that we'll be working on for the rest of the time for the border. So for this side 1 of row number 1 for the border, we're going to do 136 stitches all the way from this stitch right here all the way to the first corner. Now this chain 3 that we just did counts as 1 double crochet, 1 stitch, and then in the base here of that chain 3 that we just made, do 1 more double crochet. So now we have 2 stitches. Now in this stitch after those 2 double crochets, do 1 more double crochet. And then right here on this shell, in this very first double crochet right here, do a double crochet in it. So now we have 4 stitches. Now in this next double crochet here in the shell, do a half double crochet. And then in the third double crochet there in that shell, right here, do a single crochet. And then in this next double crochet here in that shell, do a half double crochet. And then in the last double crochet in that shell, do a double crochet. And then in these 2 double crochets right here, do 1 double crochet into each of them. And now the pattern will just repeat itself for this side, and this is how it's looking so far. So I'll go through it with you one more time. So in this shell, in the very first double crochet, do a double crochet. And then in the next double crochet, do a half double crochet. And then in the third double crochet there in the shell, do a single crochet. And then in this the next double crochet in that shell, do a half double crochet. And then in the last double crochet in that shell, do a double crochet. And then into each of these double crochets, do 1 double crochet into each of them. So this is how this whole side will go. And this is how it should be looking. So it's just 1 double crochet in that first double crochet right here, a half double in the next double crochet, a single crochet in the next double crochet, another half double crochet in this double crochet here, and then a double crochet in the last double crochet, and then both of these double crochets, do 1 double crochet into each of them. And again, this side 1 of row number 1 should have 136 stitches. So follow this pattern all the way to the end of this side and stop just short of the corner, and I will show you how to turn the corner. So I've made it to the first corner for the first side for row number 1 for the border, and I have 134 stitches so far, and we need 136 to complete this side. So in these last 2 double crochets right here, do 1 double crochet into each of them. And now we have 136 double crochets. Now before we start onto this next side for row number 1, we're going to do another double crochet right here, right where you just put that last double crochet into. So that last double crochet should have 2 double crochets in it now. And that double crochet is going to count as a corner stitch. So put a stitch marker in it so we can keep track. Now to start the next side for row number 1, this side we want 112 double crochets. So to start this side, do 1 double crochet right where we just put those last 2 double crochets into. So that stitch now should have 3 double crochets in it. And the 112 double crochets start right after this double crochet that we just marked with the stitch marker. So this one that we just made right here, that's number 1. Now in this chain space right here, right next to where we just did the double crochet, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in this stitch right here, right in between both of these chain spaces, right here in the middle, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in this chain space, right next to where we just did the stitch, where we just did the double crochet, I mean, do 1 double crochet in that chain space. And then again in this stitch right here, right in between these 2 chain spaces, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in this chain space right next to where we just did the double crochet, do 1 double crochet. And then again, right in between these chain spaces, right in that stitch right in the center, do 1 double crochet. Now this is how this whole side number 2 for row number 1 will be going, where we just do 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 in the stitch in between the chain spaces, 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 double crochet in the stitch, 1 double crochet in the chain space, 1 in the stitch, 1 in the chain space. So continue to follow this pattern all the way to the next corner and stop just short of the corner, and I will show you how to start the next side. So I've made it to the second corner and I have 111 double crochets, and we need 112 to complete this side. So in this very last corner chain space, do 1 double crochet. And now we have 112 double crochets. Now before we start on to the third side, do 1 more double crochet in this corner space. And this double crochet counts as our corner stitch. So put a stitch marker in it. And now we'll start the third side. For the third side, we need 136 double crochets. The count for those 136 start right after the stitch marker. So I'm going to show you how to do 11 of those double crochets right now, and then I'll show you the pattern that will repeat for this side of the row. So in this corner space, do 2 double crochets. And then in this double crochet right here, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in this corner space right here next to the shell, do 2 double crochets in it. And then in this space right here on the base of the shell, do 2 double crochets. And then in the chain space right here, right next to the shell, do 2 double crochets in it. And then in these 2 double crochets right here, do 1 double crochet into each of them. So this is the first 11 stitches for this third side of row number 1. Now the rest of the double crochets that I'm going to show you to do, it's going to be a repeating pattern now from here on out. So to start this repeating pattern, in this corner space right next to this shell, do 2 double crochets in it. And then in this base right here on the shell, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in this chain space right next to the shell, do 2 double crochets in it. And then in each of these double crochets, do 1 double crochet into them. And I'll show you one more time here. So in this chain space right next to the shell, do 2 double crochets. And then in the chain space right below the shell, do 1 double crochet. And then in the chain space right next to the shell, do 2 double crochets. And then in each of the double crochets, do 1 double crochet into each of them. So this is how this side will continue to go. Do this for the rest of side number 3 and stop just short of the corner. And it's going to be similar to the beginning of this row when we had a few extra double crochets in there. So stop just short of the corner and I'll show you how to add those few more double crochets and also how to turn the corner. So I have 132 double crochets and we need 136 to complete this side. Now we're going to do like we've been doing in the base of this shell right here. Do 1 double crochet, and then in the chain space right next to the shell, do 2 double crochets, and then for the very last stitch in this double crochet right here, do 1 double crochet in it. And now we have 136 double crochets to complete that side. Now before we start on the 4th side, add 1 more double crochet right there in that corner stitch. And then put a stitch marker on it. This will be our corner double crochet. Now to start the 4th side, we need 112 double crochets. So we're going to put our very first double crochet right here in this chain space, right next to where we just put those 2 double crochets in. And then again, the count for the 112 double crochets starts right after this corner stitch. So for our first one, put it right in here, right in that chain space. And then in the stitch right here, it's right in the stitch right here, it's right in between these 2 chain spaces, do 1 double crochet in that stitch. And then in the chain space after that stitch, do 1 double crochet in it. And then again, in the stitch right here, right in between these 2 chain spaces, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in the chain space right after this stitch, do 1 double crochet in it. And then again, right in between the 2 chain spaces here in that stitch, do 1 double crochet in it. And then in the chain space right after that stitch, do 1 double crochet in it. So this is how this whole side will go, where it's just 1 double crochet in that stitch, 1 in the chain space, 1 in the stitch, 1 in the chain space, and continue to follow this pattern all the way to the corner, and I will show you how to finish row number 1 and how to start row number 2. So I've made it to the 4th corner and I have 110 double crochets. We need 112 to complete this side. So in this last corner chain space right here, do 2 double crochets in that corner space. And now we have 112 double crochets. And now we need to create a corner stitch for this 4th corner. So in that corner space, again, add 1 double crochet to it. And then put a stitch marker in it. And now to complete row number 1, do a slip stitch on top of this chain 3 right here from when we first started this row. Now to start row number 2 for the border, we're going to change our starting space. So rather than starting on this double crochet right here, right below where we just did the slip stitch in, we're going to start right here on this double crochet next to it. So to do that, do a slip stitch into that double crochet. And now to start the first double crochet for row number 2, chain 3. And then in the next double crochet, do a double crochet. And then chain 1, and then skip 1 double crochet, and then in the next half double crochet, do a double crochet. And then in the next stitch, which is a single crochet, do a double crochet. And then chain 1, and then skip 1, which is a half double, and then in this next stitch right here, which is a double crochet, do a double crochet. And then in the next stitch, do a double crochet. And then chain 1 and skip 1, and then in the next 2 stitches, do a double crochet into each of them. So this is how it should be looking. So for this pattern, what we're doing is we're doing 2 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1, and then 2 double crochets. So continue to follow this pattern all the way to the first corner, and I stop just short of the corner, and I will show you how to turn the corner and start the next side. So I'm in the first corner for row number 2, and we should have 1 double crochet before this double crochet that has the stitch marker in it. Now our next stitch will be in that stitch marker double crochet, so go ahead and take that stitch marker out now. And then to get over to that stitch, chain 1, and then do 2 double crochets in that corner stitch. And then chain 1 and do 2 more double crochets in that corner stitch. So there should be 4 total in that corner double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. Now to continue on with the pattern, chain 1 and skip 1, and then in the next 2 double crochets, do 1 double crochet into each of them, and then again chain 1 and skip 1, and then in the next 2 double crochets, do a double crochet into each of them. So this is how it's looking, and I'll explain it to you again one more time. Once you get up to the corner and you have 1 double crochet just before the corner stitch mark double crochet, do a chain 1 to skip it, and then in that stitch mark double crochet, do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and do 2 more double crochets in that corner stitch. Then to continue on with the pattern, chain 1, skip 1, and do 2 double crochets in a row, chain 1, skip 1, and 2 double crochets in a row, and then just continue on with that pattern. All 4 sides are going the same way, and all 4 corners are going the same way. So continue this pattern for row number 2, and I will see you at the end of this row. I'll show you how to finish row number 2 and how to start row number 3. I just finished my last corner for row number 2, and now the only thing that's left to do to finish this row is to do a slip stitch on top of this chain 3 from when we first started this row. And now on to row number 3. To start row number 3, chain 2. And now in each stitch we're going to do a half double crochet. So in this double crochet after where we just did our chain 2, do a half double crochet in it. And then in this chain space after those 2 double crochets, do a half double crochet in it. And then in these 2 double crochets following that chain space, do 1 half double crochet into each of those double crochets. And then again in this chain space, do 1 half double crochet. And then again, following that chain space into each of these double crochets, do 1 half double crochet into each of them. So this is how this whole row will go, where we're just doing a half double crochet into each stitch. So continue to follow this pattern all the way to the first corner, and I will show you how to turn the corner. I'm in the first corner for row number 3, and just continue on with the pattern on these 2 double crochets here in the corner. Just continue on with doing a half double crochet into each of those. And then once you get to this corner chain space right here, do 3 half double crochets in that corner space. And then the 2 double crochets following that corner space, do 1 half double crochet into each of those. And then just continue on with the pattern again of doing 1 half double crochet into the chain space, and then 1 half double crochet into each of those double crochets following that chain space. So I'll explain it to you again one more time. In these 2 double crochets for the corner, do 1 half double crochet into each of them. And then in this corner space, do 3 half double crochets in that corner space. And then these 2 double crochets following that corner space, do 1 half double crochet into each of them. And then just continue on with the pattern of doing 1 half double crochet into the chain space and 1 half double crochet into each of the double crochets. So do this for all 4 corners and continue this half double crochet pattern for all sides. And I will see you at the end of row number 3 and show you how to finish that row and how to start row number 4.